Tonight we're going to focus on strategic planning with a space for creativity. So I have coached entrepreneurs from all across many different industries, from very seasoned attorneys, thriving restaurant owners, in the medical field, just across the industry. And we would map out strategic plans and put together the marketing and the business development. And no matter how clear the plan was, I started noticing a pattern. So the plan wasn't the pattern. The problem was what happened after the plan was created. They would freeze. They would second guess themselves. Oh, I don't know. I was thinking about it. What if this doesn't work? After I thought about it, maybe we should just wait. And they started putting their ideas on the back burner. And the uncertainty that they were experiencing, whether it was the market or whether it was just the way that their business was running, it was blocking their creativity and minimizing their capabilities because they started questioning their ideas. They would delay their launches, miss opportunities, and then they would just retreat back to what was comfortable and familiar. And all this was happening at the time that they most needed to be flexible and think outside of the box. And so that's why I wanted to share this, because as a result of that, I started changing my approach. And what all this means to you is that after years of dedicating time to mastering how to support entrepreneurs through the hard moments, not just through all the strategic planning, which I love, but we need to make sure that we're in execution mode also. So how do I support them through the hard moments, the mentally and emotionally in challenging times? Because mindset isn't just about positive thinking. It's about how we navigate through the storm with the clarity and the direction that's needed. Because even when obstacles are real and uncertainty is present, you have to have a strong mindset to even reimagine what's possible. That's the key to unlocking the next chapter of your journey. It's about unlocking that courage so that we can actually move forward even when things seems to be very unstable. So last week, for those of you that were here and for those that you weren't, little recap, tapping into your inner strength. Not the version that says you have to be perfect and have it all figured out, but the version of you that's resilient and that's resourceful and that's courageous, tapping into that part of you, particularly during these times. And then reminding yourself of your talent and your tenacity, because that's where your confidence comes from. Your confidence doesn't come from outside of you, right? Your confidence comes from within. And so that's why we need to know ourselves and know about who we are and what our talents are and be firm about it. And finally, we emphasize staying focused on what's working. In times of uncertainty, we tend to talk a lot about what's not working, and we need to focus on what is working for us and how can we lean more into that. And so today we're going to pick up from there and talk a little bit about that. So when it's hard to pause, that's when you must. So I always say whenever I'm super busy, overwhelmed, or uncertain, that's the time I need to just stop. Because what happens during turbulence is that many entrepreneurs slip into this survival mode that's not strategic, that's not sustainable, and it's not intentional. They begin to react, often without a clear plan. Even now, I'll talk to one client and they have one idea. The next week, we're on to something else and we don't even talk about the previous one. Because they believe if they just keep hustling, staying busy, that they're gonna make it through. But most don't do the pauses with intentions. And we need to have these pauses with intentions so that we actually carve out space to think, to reflect, and to explore fresh possibilities. I see the face. I see the yes. Because in high stress moments, slowing down feels risky. I don't know. I don't have time for that. I need to keep moving. Oh, I couldn't come on the call today because I gotta get everything done. Because we feel like if we're not busy, we're not in motion. It may even feel like it's irresponsible. But guess what? In those pauses is exactly where the breakthrough happens. It's not by scrambling to do more, but it's giving yourself permission to take a step back, reconnect with your inner power, reconnect with your creativity, and ask some powerful questions. Well, what do I ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. What's possible now that wasn't before? So if you typically offer in-person workshops, perhaps now is a very good time to build a digital course. Perhaps if you have a brick and mortar and you're wondering, what am I going to do with this? Maybe you could consider redesigning your space for offering events and community pop-ups. Perhaps you go ahead and make effort to go to those networking events to develop new partnerships. Not just only about selling to them, but literally cross-promotion and how can we tap into each other's audience? What's another powerful question? How can I tap into my inner strengths and serve in new ways? So perhaps if you're in food service, you can bottle your spices or your sauces, or bake at home kits with instructions for families, or shopping tips and how can they prepare these meals in cost-effective ways. And maybe you have a program on that. Maybe you could host a virtual cooking class. Just things to think about. What would a more creative offer look like? How can you rebundle, repurpose what you're already doing? What would that look like? See, this isn't about ignoring the crisis, right? It's about using your mindset as a strategy right in the middle of the storm, because that's what separates businesses that simply just react. It's from those who reimagine, evolve, and thrive. It reminds me of a story. So years ago, I was working at an engineering firm. And one afternoon, a coworker and I were passing by a VP's office. And there he was, sitting at his desk, feet up on the desk, just staring out the window. So she nudged and said, "Look at him doing nothing." I was thinking, how can I do that job? Like, how do I sign in for that? That's what I wanted to do, right? Well, fast forward a few years, I'm in grad school studying leadership, studying strategy. And it starts talking about these pauses. And I was thinking, oh, this is really dope. And I realized that stillness isn't laziness. Taking the time to stare out the window and gaze, walk around the block, taking moments to breathe, that's really where the strategy begins. That's where the ideas begin to flow. That's where creative decisions are born. That's where real leadership takes place and shape. Not in the noise, but it's in the pauses that we take between the noises. So if you've been taught that success only comes from the hustle, and I've been there, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to give yourself permission to just chill, take a break, take a breath, and pause. Actually, Phil Jackson said, everybody knows Phil Jackson, right? The NBA Zen master. He said, when the mind is allowed to relax, inspiration often flows. Now, he wasn't just talking about basketball, because I have the book. That same wisdom applies to leadership, business, and especially entrepreneurship, because stillness isn't passive. It's not doing nothing. It's creating space for everything that actually moves the needle. Well, what is that? Clarity, creativity, strategy. So when we quiet the noise, even briefly, we stop reacting and we start realigning. And in that space, ideas rise, decisions become intentional, and breakthroughs starts to feel inevitable. So think about it. When can you schedule time to give yourself permission to just pause? Now, I want to be very clear, because sometimes we take the pause or we find ourselves in thought and we're really just overthinking, right? So let's just explore the difference between overthinking versus having a creative flow. Overthinking is when your mind is looping the same thoughts over and over and over, and it's leaving you stuck, overwhelmed, and frustrated. Now, when you have intentional space and pauses When you allow your mind to stretch beyond the usual patterns, now we're talking about creative flow, because that's when something shifts. That's when all those powerful questions that you're asking, you'll begin to see the dots connect. That's where your imagination lives, not in the grind, but in the space where you present curiosity and be open to what if, open to what's possible, because that's where the best ideas are born. So we want to open up your world to possibility. So here's a story about possibility. Pre-pandemic, I was working with a nonprofit, and they asked me to help navigate them through the preschool licensing process. I said, look, I don't know anything about preschools. That's not my jam. They were like, no, we want you. It's like, okay, cool. I can read a little bit, so let's go. So I did, but all of a sudden I'm in this work and I'm helping them establish this preschool center, and I started liking it. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I liking this? It wasn't because, trust me, it wasn't because I had this sudden passion for toddlers and glue sticks. It definitely wasn't that. But I realized it wasn't about the children. It was training and development. And I love training and development. So sometimes we have to take a look at ourselves and our talents and what it is that we're doing, and looking at our zone of genius and seeing what can we find in those unexpected places. You're still solving the same problems, but just in a different context. So when you have a chance to pause and open to creativity, you open up a whole new world of possibilities. Now I can hear you say, girl, I don't have time for all this. Technology. And as someone mentioned it, technology, using technology to amplify your genius. And you see here, whoever asked that question, I think it was Theodora, AI isn't here to replace anybody. A lot of times this fear is coming from people thinking that they're going to be replaced, right? But you can allow it to reveal more of you. So it's like, how do I identify my zone of genius? You might be saying, how do I even begin to explore what's possible? Well, the truth is that we all have strengths that we overlook or don't see them in those unusual places and spaces, right? Or we downplay ourselves because we can't see ourselves in the frame, right? That's why coaching is so important, so that someone can reflect to you all your talents and your gifts that sometimes you think it's just, oh, it's no big deal, and it is. So with AI, tools like ChatGPT can help you brainstorm business ideas based on your own passions and your own strengths. I know Dr. Tor was talking about using that SWOT analysis. I like to do personal SWOT analysis too. So it helps you clearly see what you bring to the table. Also clarify your transferable skills. See, when I said to them, oh, I'm not into preschool, I didn't realize the transferable skills that I had that was going to make that venture successful. So you're not really pivoting from scratch. You're bringing some things to the table. It can also help you build and scale systems and automate, save time, save money. So again, it's not here to replace you. So you say, really? Really? True story. I have a client who used ChatGPT and built $500,000 in just 12 months. This was recently. He didn't have everything figured out, trust me, because I coached him. Actually, he set it up, and I didn't know that he had used ChatGPT to set it up. So when I stepped in, things were rolling. I was like, okay, start a new business. I didn't know he had built this whole thing from ChatGPT. I didn't know that. But you know what he had? He had the ability and the willingness to evaluate his skills, his interest, and the market. And with the help of ChatGPT, it helped him to gather the insight that he needed, clarify his strategy, and more importantly, he took all this information and he just went for it. He didn't wait until it was perfect. He didn't binge on courses or get stuck in YouTube. He launched, tested, refined very quickly, and that's what makes the difference. And another thing, he trusted his instinct. He trusted his own abilities. And that's what happens when we stop overthinking and start executing with that type of clarity. Now, with that client, He fueled his strategic imagination. During times of uncertainty, I'm sure we're all guilty of it, self-doubt creeps in. You start questioning your decisions because the stakes are very high. And I get that. You don't want to make the wrong move. But here's what's important to remember. You have to trust your intuition. Think back to when you first started your entrepreneurial journey. I remember the day I walked out of my corporate office with my box in the hand. I didn't have any guarantees, just a vision and a willingness to try. And over the years, I've evolved. The business plan definitely evolved more than once. And the key is that when a new idea inspires you, test it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Launch it, test it, and refine it. That's what Netflix did. When Netflix got in trouble in 2008 during the financial crisis, it was risky, but what did they do? They pivoted from DVDs to streaming. People thought they were like crazy. Like, what are you doing? That was unheard of, right? They didn't wait for a perfect plan. They moved early. They evolved with the market. And Apple does the same thing. They release, they learn, they improve. So what part of your business can you shift? What part of your business can you shift? I'm going to walk you through a simple process that you can try on your own. This is a process I go through with my clients. The first one we've talked about many times, inventory. Take an inventory of your current strengths, your wins, your resources. Who do you know? Take an inventory and really see what you have in your toolbox, your experiences, your relationships. A lot of times we underestimate our value because, again, we're the picture inside of the frame. The second one, I love this one. Imagine new possibilities. Anybody heard of Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich? He said man can create anything he can imagine. So here's the question. What are you imagining right now? When you go throughout your day, what are you imagining for yourself and for your business? Being the same old thoughts, or are you giving yourself space to create? Imagine what can be possible for you. And then the third one, implementation. Implement one thing quickly. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Don't overthink it. Just take one step, one idea. Quick wins build momentum. So build the momentum. So let's just bring it all together. As we navigate uncertainty, shifting in directions, remember the 3-step process. Inventory your strengths, imagine new possibilities, implement one thing quickly. And of course, if you're ever feeling stuck or want to think it through, reach out to me because I'd love to join the journey with you. Thank you.